This is where the fun begins.
Are you sure? So be it. Did you miss me?
CAF. Lots of it. For me and for the Ready Room. I have a feeling this mission is not one we can fly in our sleep.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to CAF Chat. Of course, this is OG Star Wars. Your host, Alora Baga, basically. Hello, how are you guys doing? I'm excited for another Thursday with you here, and there is a lot to discuss. Yeah, so before we get started, what's in your mug? What are you enjoying? What did you bring to the table, to your chair, wherever you're posted, wherever you're making yourself comfortable to participate, join in on the Star Wars conversation, the CAF Chat here this morning. Of course, as always, I have my CAF and my cat. I'm looking at the table. My studio is right next to the kitchen dining room area, and I have no door. I need to put a door on my studio. I'm like this OG kind of native thing where I have a big Pendleton blanket quilt to kind of like shelter the sound or keep the sound from the other room to come in here, but it's not up right now. And my orange cat, Darth Toby, is on the kitchen table playing with all the I have color pastel pencils on the table. What happened is they dropped on the floor and the canister opened up and they scattered. So I put them on the table so I can reorganize them back in the canister. And he's on the table right now playing with them and knocking them on the friggin' floor. So welcome to CAF Chat. This is what's going on in real life in my life. Darth Toby is raising hell. So I'm going to go ahead and shoo him off the table real quick. I'm going to play something for you right now. My CAF is lukewarm. Perhaps I shall microwave it in my like my tea. Go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and play this and shoo the cat off the friggin' table because I don't feel like playing 21 pickup on color pencils or those pencils, pastel pencils off the floor. So let me see. I'm going to go ahead and, since we're talking about, no, let's go ahead and, no, I'm like, which one should I do? Since we are talking about New Jedi Order still, let's go ahead and play this.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the New Jedi Order.
All right, so I shoot him off. Of course, Darth Toby just raises hell. I wish you could have seen that, man. You know how you see those videos of cats just like sitting at the edge of the table and you have something like maybe a mug or something breakable and they look at you like it's a dare or they're trying to keep your attention so you don't see their paw swiping the item off the table. That's kind of that, but you know, with about 21 pastel color pencils. Anyways, welcome to CAF Chat. How are you guys doing? I am so happy to be here with you guys. And let's see who's in the chat. I do like today we're going to talk about, of course, New Jedi Order lore talk. We're still in the Star by Star timeline. And for those who know and have read Star by Star, know New Jedi Order lore, those who don't but know that they know about Anakin Solo, we are getting to the part of where they form his strike team, basically, and Myrkyr. So we'll talk about that. And then we are going to get into some anti-George Lucas rhetoric. However, I do have a podcast clip I want to share about Mark Hamill talking about what Luke Skywalker or Jake Skywalker in the Disney trilogy should have done, or the reason why he's depressed and wanted and left the galaxy. So we're going to play that. We're going to get into that. So that is something new I was editing before I hopped on here. Like I was editing right up before the beginning of CAF Chat. And then we'll also get into Cringe Factor, Book of the Week, of course, and Lucas Facts. So full schedule here within 2 hours. And then I'm going off to do some art with my friend. We have art meetup every Wednesday. It got postponed for today. So that's my schedule. And I can't wait to share some of my art with you, especially the Star Wars and inspired one pieces I've been working on. So let's see who's in the chat. And then we'll get into a couple of the things that I want to discuss and Book of the Week, Lucas Fact, all of that. So thank you again, Soul Assassin, one of my mods. And man, we were discussing, and he's been modding for the channel about for maybe 4 years. You know, he's witnessed like the CAF chats when we also were using the CAF chats for like comic reviews and stuff like that. Oh, God, so much fun. Thank you so much for being dedicated to the channel. I appreciate you. And of course, follow me on Twitter. Thank you. He's posting up all where we can, you can find my merch, all of that. Support is greatly appreciated. If you like the content, if you want merch on my painting, my art on t-shirts and stuff, or if you want fine prints. And in fact, I know I'm putting a lot of plugs in, but you know what? Why not? I mean, how are we gonna grow our channels if we can't, speak and find ways to have support and then also support you guys as well. So with that being said, if you become a channel member, this is what they call the exchange, right? Like we're supporting each other. For supporting the channel as a channel member every Sunday, 6 p.m. unless there's a change, and change always happens. And then, but every Sunday about 6 p.m. is our book club. So it's a listen party of Star Wars expanded universe novels, real Star Wars, George Lucas era. And you get to come in and you register for the link and you participate, and we listen. Right now we're listening through Young Jedi Knights, and we are starting book 2 now this Sunday. So become a channel member and join. And then if you become a channel member, if you want a fine print of any of my art, it doesn't have to be Star Wars, you get 10% off. So another bonus there, you guys, just for me giving back, for you supporting the channel. All right, I'm just writing things to keep my XP high enough to keep the one spot. I can't see it on my end, like on StreamYards. I don't have the other screen up of YouTube, so I'll take your word for that. And you know what? I think maybe I'll do something special for like the holidays coming up, Christmas, for the one who has the most points. I don't know how I have to look into that to see how that goes. Like, I know that YouTube tells you who's your number one, I think, and stuff like that. So by then, if there's something, maybe I will have a special print of your chosen art that you want for you. So, but it's all fun and games, even if you don't want to, get the award or whatever. Just have fun with it. That's pretty cool. Star Wars Scran, hello. I am waiting for you to come back to Twitter. There's so much going on, and I know you need a break. We all need a break from the friggin' social media, like Facebook. I have like taken a break from that for a while, and Twitter, I do try to delete the app off my phone, so I'm not on certain occasions, like certain times of the week. So I'm not on there all the time. It's addictive. I understand that. And then also too, it just kind of changes the quality of your energy and stuff at times. So yes, taking a break is always good. And let's see here. And Conrado from the Philippines. Thank you so much for coming in and supporting the channel. Where were you last week? Oh, I had some stuff to take care of. So yeah, I had family in and all this stuff. So yeah, and family matters and stuff. And you know, it is what it is. You know, my youngest adult child, she's not even 21 yet. She was visiting, and then her and her boyfriend are now driving to Santee, to the Midwest, to visit family. So she came in, stayed with us for a few days, and then they headed out. And then so I needed to take the time to visit with her. Yeah, so that's what was going on. And I forgot to announce it here on YouTube. I did announce it on Twitter. I apologize. I forget sometimes to announce on YouTube posts that what's going on with the channel, and I will try to be more diligent with that on that end. You're so kind. Thank you so much. And I know I've seen you put up a latest video. I'm going to check it out here pretty soon. He's been pushing out content very well. I go over there and subscribe to Scran if you have not yet. And Calcite is here. Calcite the Line, greetings there, and greetings to you. Diddly Squad, how are you doing? And then Soul Assassin said she had a family day, Conrado. Yes, I did. Hey, what's up, Star Wars Marvel Purist? Another mod and channel member. And thank you so much. He's been participating, and along with Scran, Soul Assassin, you know, a few others, has been participating in the book club for the channel members and mods. I include mods, even if you're not a channel member, but you're a mod. I include you guys as well. And Scran was there too. He's a mod. Even though, and Silver was there. Thank you guys so much. Yep. I read that one, but hopefully you warmed it up. And then CAF Katarn. And then thank you so much here. So member for 6 months. I see I got my 6 months member badge. Good, right? Congratulations for reaching it 6 months. And you also get these beautiful fun emojis. I have to see, I think I may be eligible for a couple more, at least one more on. So I'm trying to make them fun. We'll see. Maybe, you know what? I was thinking about making a Gatekeepers Alliance related one, because supporting, I'm a part of the Gatekeepers Alliance. And in fact, this Friday, catch us on Mr. Grizzy's channel for the next installment of Gatekeepers Alliance. Yep. I think it's about 7 or 7:30 my time, Pacific Standard Time. Go ahead, Star Wars Marvel Purist. Feel free to correct that and put it in the chat if you will. I'm just going on top of my head. I don't remember the time. That's why I'm like giving a guesstimate. I should know this, but I don't. And Zaggerot 315, hello, how are you doing? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just keep scrolling. I know there's a lot of conversation going down in there. And let's see here. Lucas Gerson's here. Says, I wish I could record this. Jada Solo 27 ABY. Yeah, and we have Josh Hammond here. Thank you so much for participating, coming in. And as always, those who are kind of new to the channel and coming in, the chat, CAF chat, it's about talking about true George Lucas era of Star Wars, latest news, lore, all of that. And before I get into this clip, I want to go ahead and get Book of the Week and Lucas Facts out of the way. So let's go ahead and get into that. And then we'll get into the two topics I want to talk about before we get into new Jedi Order lore. All right. So let's see here. Let's get into Lucas Facts. Let me go ahead and find that clip. Here we go.
That's great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
All right. Let's see here. There we go. So this one is quick and fun. Yesterday I was listening to Icons Unleashed, the prequel trilogy installment of that bullshit show, and I'm not gonna get into it, but man, that shit, oh my, talk about discrediting George Lucas to raise Marsha up on a pedestal. But anyways, I digress here. This was a fun fact, Lucas fact, that I knew about, but since then forgot, and was reminded again when I was watching Icons Unleashed. Michael Jackson auditioned for and was denied the role for Jar Jar Binks in The Phantom Menace. Did you guys know that? Did you know that Michael Jackson wanted to be Jar Jar and auditioned, and Lucas denied him? He's seen Ahmad Best. Like Ahmad Best was another candidate, and he's seen him on stage performing. I forgot which one it was, but I forgot what it was called, but it's the one where they're dancing and they're playing with the buckets and stuff. I forgot what the hell it's called. I'm sorry. I apologize. So he's seen him, watched him on stage, liked his movement, all of that. And basically that's what sealed the fate for Jar Jar being performed, acted by Ahmad Best. So there you go. But just imagine if it was Michael Jackson. Can you imagine the voice of Jar Jar by Michael Jackson? Imagine Jar Jar moonwalking. Yes, right here. Thank you so much. So imagine Jar Jar moonwalking. Mita beat it. That sounds so fucking weird. Is the hatred of George justified? No, it's not. Me, he saw. I don't know how to. I want to know how to voice that. Oh my god, me, he saw. Misa thriller time. So that I wanted to share. I thought it was fun. I thought I would, because it reminded me. So I thought I'd remind you guys if you guys knew. If not, then you guys now know. So the more you know, right? Jar Jar Binks. It's not my gun. I don't know how to sing this. Oh my god. She did it. I know I did. Oh my, I'm not going to try to sing this though, but you guys can probably put this in your head. It's not my, I'm not going to try. I'm not going to try, man. Let's see. Misa Jean is my lover. Or I don't know. Disney is using mainstream actors to market their Marvel Star Wars shows. Yes, they are. You know, Mandalorian is one of the major, like, I guess you could say, red flags with that. Billy Jeansa is a not so Misa lover. So I can't even do that. Oh my god. I'm crying, so am I. Star Wars is so big that big celebrities wanted in. Tupac wanted Mace Windu and MJ wanted Binks. Oh, goodness gracious. Here we go. Hello, Gilderon. How are you doing? Oh, goodness. Wiping the tears. Okay. I think Soul got it best. Yes, he did. Misa bad. There we go. So there you go. That's a bit of Lucas fact history there. You know, just imagine. Do you think if Michael Jackson was accepted for the role, that maybe Jar Jar would have been tolerated because of Michael Jackson? Think about that. You know, many people think that the PT was bad because people don't like Jar Jar. Like, there's a lot of people that didn't care for Jar Jar. And that's not the case. Like, you can say character is bad, but still like the product. So I think that's a hyperbolic take that people have been taking. And that, you know, Icons Unleashed, that's kind of what they were playing into too. I mean, I'm sorry. I hope that when we return with the space scene full time, that we go over Icons Unleashed, finish Return of the Jedi, and then get into the PT era portion. We really need to break that shit down, because I've seen so, like, just when I watched it, yes, I sat down and watched both or them yesterday. I was correcting some BS. I wonder how much these guys, like some of these people who worked with George, were paid to say the shit they were saying. But anyways, Going back to this Michael Jackson thing. Thank you guys for the fucking laugh. That was great. Let's see here. And starring at the Sith through my rear view. Pray to God that that don't slay you. Staring at the Sith through my staring at the Sith through my rear view window, praying to God that don't slay you. I butchered the hell out of that sucker, didn't I? Disney doesn't want to sully themselves when their shows and movies are in the Razzies. And then a special edition will be 30 years old in 2027. What were people trying to do to bring up long ago settled and debated news? Must be no Star Wars news, so let's invent drama. Well, the drama was set up and staged by BFI in UK and Kathleen Kennedy. And then so people were praising her for the donated film that was archived at BFI that was still altered with the they said it was the original. It's not the original, it's a copy, but it's still Technicolor print, because back then, like, the early prints of those were in that type. But it was still had the added new script change, and so they took it out and put the old back in the original and called it a day. But because Kennedy came over there and spoke about it and stuff, people are praising it, saying if Kennedy and Disney Lucasfilm re-released that to the theaters and stuff, they would forgive Disney Star Wars, Disney Lucasfilm, for all the shit they have done. So this is where we're at. Oh, give me what I like, appease me, and I will forgive you. But that doesn't change the direction Star Wars, our Disney Stars, has been going, how Lucasfilm has been bastardizing the product. One little thing that kind of like puts the Band-Aid over the shit does not make it heal, right? It just covers up the fucking festering problem. And so this is a Band-Aid that they're willing to place over that festering problem and call it a day and say, oh, we're good now. So you get what's going on there? It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And so with that, they're praising Kennedy, in a sense, and bashing George Lucas. That's what's going on. That is what's going on, to let you know what's going on. How many gun children would be involved? Oh, dead. I get it. Oh my God. Greg actually likes something the OT, and he loathes C-3PO. Right. Let's see here. Anakin is not a Jedi. He's just a boy that Misa thinks is the one. Oh, Anakin is not a Jedi. He's just a boy that Misa thinks that is the one, or thinks is the one. I butchered that. All right. Disney Star Wars is stuck making mini shows before The Force Awakens. There we go. Tupac, I fucked up. Gwift is on our side, Matthew. Yep, I get it. Let's see here. They say they're looking for a drop in the desert, and that's the exact thing, the drop in the desert. They're so fucking thirsty because, that's Disney Star Wars. They're so empty, so dry with what they're doing, the creativity and stuff, that this is a drop, right? This is a drop. Michael Jackson as Jar Jar Binks. Now that could be interesting. Right. I'm like saying, what do you think? Do you think Jar Jar would have been more popular if he had the role? Too many desert wanderers to fit in one clip. I know, they're growing, right? They're like revealing themselves. And I forgot to put my Bantha Poodoo clip up of Jabba. I was going to put that as a clip. I wanted to play it today, but I forgot to do that last night, and I was too busy editing. To think that episode 4 came out in a different form back then, especially because the very first release wasn't even finished when it came out, correct? Right? Correct. Let's see here. Smash the like button, yes. And yeah, I've heard the reports of the restoration of the original and for the 50th, and I've dismissed them. Yeah. And let's see. Well, I think fans are saying Star Wars is dead, but have the original versions of the original trilogy, that's it for them and they'll move on. I don't know. No, they're not saying they'll move on. They said they will forgive, Josh. They said they will forgive. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Let's get into book of the week so we can get into this to more topics here. I want to, I have a lot to say. As you know, you can hear it. You already heard some of it. And I, especially about the new thing, what Mark Hamill said. This should be fun, right? This should be fun. But in the meantime, let's check this out.
I hate to say it, but it looks like the item you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
All right, so book of the week is it's a small, I guess you could say, trilogy or whatever, but here you go. So I thought, because these are small little young readers, novellas, I guess you could say, I want to go ahead and, oh my God. Okay, pause here and I'll finish. My cat Toby is back on the table, and I am watching my daughter, who took off to the Midwest, 2 of her cats. One of her cats is with him now. The shit's going down, you guys. The shit's going down with these fucking cats. But anyways, I'm just gonna let them be. All right, so back to this. You guys are getting live, real-time events happening in my house. Anyways, because these journals are like quick reads, instead of doing one by one, I thought I'd include all of them. So they're episode 1 journal. You have the Anakin Skywalker, the Queen Amidala, and the Darth Maul episode 1 journals. And Todd Strasser wrote Anakin Skywalker. Jude Watson is responsible for Queen Amidala and Darth Maul. I really like Darth Maul's story, or what happens in that. The cover artist is Lucasfilm Limited. These just come from clips and their archives from within Lucasfilm, the images. And they came out about June 1999. Anakin Skywalker and Queen Amidala, June 1999. And then March 2000, Darth Maul. And the timeline, of course, this is about 32 BBY. Anakin's journals written before the Battle of Naboo. And I forgot to add that he was writing basically just like his events, the events that led him to his freedom, basically. So that's what that one is about. And then Queen Amidala's journal is about the events of Battle of Naboo. She recorded with a data pad hidden in her robe. So as everything was happening, she was recording, documenting, and stuff like that. That's what that is about. But Darth Maul journal includes new scenes, including the Torgorian pirates in space. So, the battle with them, and the Tusken Raiders on Tatooine. So his encounter with those. So they're small little, young readers read here. But I thought I would include this just because, it's not just about the main novels within the timeline. I like to do the comics. I like to do source books, all of that, including young readers. So there you go. Yeah, Soul Assassin, 1999 and 2000 feels so long ago. Cat fight, yes, cat fight. They're done on the table now, but they were playing, and nothing happened with knocking the pencils off, but still, oh my God. Yeah, that's the going on. It's just me and those freaking cats and you guys now. All right, so the journals here. So if you guys don't have them, you could probably find them on Thrift Books. I'm always recommending them, but you can find them probably on, Amazon or eBay or wherever you wish to purchase them. You could just search and find. I would say, even though they're children's read from Scholastic and stuff, I still recommend to put them in your library. Collect all of pre-Disney lore as you can. There's some that you might have to invest in a pretty penny, but I would say do it. Do it. So these are the books of the week. Episode 1 journals, Anakin Skywalker, Queen Amidala, and Darth Maul. Again, I really enjoyed the Darth Maul one. The other two are, they're good. I mean, they're decent. They're children's book, just giving insight on certain events, right? But it just, just a little enhancement to the story, I guess you can say. Do you need to read them to understand anything? Of course not. These are just characters documenting certain events, right? It's their journal, I guess you can say. But again, add them, I recommend you add them to your library. And if you have kids, young kids, then you can let them read it. Your young kid at heart. George Lucas always talks about being the young kid at heart, right? And enjoy them. That's what it's about. Enjoy them. All right. So with that being said, that is your Lucas Facts and your book of the week. The Lucas Facts was a fun one, right? We had good laughs with that. You guys are amazing. Just bringing up all this fun little, song scripts and stuff like that pertaining with Michael Jackson being Jar Jar. So interesting stuff there. Now let's go ahead and I want to get into, before we discuss anti-George rhetoric, I want to share with you guys, and thank you Soul Assassin for sharing the clip. I woke up and he shared the clip or the tweet with me about Mark Hamill and how he is describing why Luke Skywalker or Jake Skywalker abandoned the galaxy, his friends, and the Jedi Order. Okay, so let's go ahead. I need to go ahead. I don't have it really. I'm ready to show, so I got to go pull it up. So there you go. And let's cancel. I'm going to make sure I have it actually ready to go on the window I need to pull up. Where is it? Let me refresh. Oh, I thought I had it ready. I didn't have it ready. I was still downloading as we were getting started with come on, dude. There we go. It was still downloading when I was getting started with the show. So that's I was like I said, I was basically editing from the moment. There we go. From the moment of starting the show, like downloading it, everything else. So that's what's going on. Let's see here. Let me go ahead and come on, dude. All right. I just want to show my screen. I love it when this shit happens. All right. Let me play this right here while because I'm having a little technical. It's not a technical difficulty. It's just the window doesn't want to open for me. So I guess you could say it is. So let's go ahead and even though I want to play it later, let's play this.
Someone asked me to give the best reason why someone should read the expanded universe. After giving it a lot of thought, here's what I have to say. The expanded universe respects the reader. In the expanded universe, Luke Skywalker's optimism continues where it left off in Return of the Jedi. He's fulfilled hope to the galaxy just like Obi-Wan said he would, not like the Disney movies where he gave up on the Jedi or even the whole galaxy for that matter. The character you see in those movies is not Luke. Luke isn't a quitter. He's not a pessimist. He's a leader. He's inspirational. And he's always there for his friends in times of need. Another character is Han Solo. He's introduced to us in A New Hope as a loner, a man who cares only for himself and nobody else. But by the end of Return of the Jedi, that all turns around when he finally finds friends he can trust and a true love to spend the rest of his life with. And that's exactly what he does in the expanded universe. Han is a devoted husband and father to Leia and their kids. He loves his family above all else. In the new movies, Han turns out to be a selfish deadbeat dad who ran out on his family when things get tough. It's a complete 180 from the character that we saw from Return of the Jedi. Now, another thing the EU does is it rewards its readers. Attention to detail when it comes to continuity has never been done at such a level as when it was performed by the expanded universe. Avid readers will constantly be rewarded for their diligence as comics, novels, video games, and even children's books share connections throughout the entire series, making it almost a flawless, continuous story. And though it has its minor flaws, it's still the best overall story and continuity out there, period. That's what the EU does. It respects and rewards its readers. And that's the best reason you should give it a try. Long live the expanded universe.
All right, long live the expanded universe. I got it all squared away. So here we go. Let me go ahead and just add everything like this. So this right here, Mark Hamill was interviewed in the latest installment for this podcast called Bullseye with Jesse Thorne. And basically he describes why Jake Skywalker went into hiding as a hermit, as a depressed, cucked hermit, basically. But I also shared, I recorded it, edited it. I also shared some conversations pertaining to his feelings about RJ, Ryan Johnson. So this right here, he kind of backtracks. So I may pause as we go along through this here, but let's go ahead and check it out.
In The Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker has sort of exiled himself.
You guys can hear it,
and
right?
From what I understand, that was uncomfortable for you when you read it.
Well, here's the thing, and I'd love to clear this up. Ryan Johnson is one of the most gifted directors I've ever worked with. He's amiable, he's fun on set, he's smart. He made a great movie. I think the staging of the standoff between Kylo Ren, Adam Driver, and I at the end.
All right, so I'm going to pause here. I knew I was going to end up pausing. So he is up talking RJ, which I guess that's fine. He's going to have his own preference, but you know, he will get into why more about this later on. But I posted, I clipped this here, and this is going to be on screen for a little while too as we listen. But basically, the Force killed Luke. You have to acknowledge the irony of in his fate. Almost like an addict that kicked his habit cold turkey, remained clean for decades, only to reuse it just once and then tragically overdose. So basically, he talks about this and why Luke died, and jokingly harkens it to being a drug addict. But the Force is not drugs, though. The Force is life. So this right here, basically, you know, as much as we say, oh, well, Mark knows the character stuff, he doesn't really know Star Wars. I'm sorry, he doesn't. So let's go ahead and go on.
Is so well staged, you know, the foreshadowing that I'm not really there. Adam wipes the snow away and you see the red planet beneath. I wipe the snow and it's just snow. I mean, that's so subtle. I love Knives Out and Brick and Looper. He's one of my favorite directors. And the fact that I went public with my dissatisfaction with the motivation for Luke becoming a suicidal hermit might have colored things in a way that maybe I should have kept that to myself. But I kept saying to Ryan, this would just make Luke double down even. He said, well, your whole, you know, your class at the Jedi Academy were wiped out.
And he turned on me. He must have thought I was dead. When I came to, the temple was burning. He had vanished with a handful of my students and slaughtered the rest. Leia blamed Snoke, but it was me. I failed. Because I was Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master.
I said, Ryan, I saw entire planets wiped out. If anything, Luke doubles down and it hardens his resolve.
All right, so I did share an example of Luke hardening his resolve, and I look at I forgot to take that out. There can't be something kind of text without me having one little mistake. But anyways, I shared an example of almost losing an academy and life. Luke guides his niece and nephew and students to band together to defeat Exar Kun. So this right here, I'm referring back to the real lore. And like I said, Mark doesn't know much about Star Wars. I think maybe his son knows more because his son did inform him that Luke had a wife and he was amazed by that, and a kid and whatever, the hot redhead, as Mark Hamill would say. But, this is one example of Luke coming and pulling through despite his situation. He was in a fucking coma, right? And he was reaching out through the Force to his niece and nephew to guide them against Exar Kun, right? And then his students band together, almost like forming this, like the circle of trust, I guess you can say. I'm just using that as an analogy or whatever. But he hardens his resolve, and we see this throughout the whole entire timeline. No matter what situation Luke is in, he always finds a way, even if he finds himself depressed from loss and stuff, which we get into that in Legacy of the Force. So let's go ahead and continue on.
In the face of adversity. So that's all. I said, can I make up my own backstory of why he is the way he is? I don't want to just say that, I have bumped my head and a brain damage. He said, yeah, do whatever you want. So I made up a much, much darker
Check this out.
Backstory that I thought could justify him being that way. You want to hear what it was?
Spill it, Hamill.
I thought, what could make someone give up a devotion to what is basically a religious entity, to give up being a Jedi? Well, the love of a woman. So he falls in love with a woman. He gives up being a Jedi.
He does not.
They have a child together. At some point, the child, as a toddler, picks up an unattended lightsaber, pushes the button, and is killed instantly. The wife is so full of grief, she kills herself. I thought that would be, because I think about, I hear these horrible stories about these children that.
All right. So he basically says his son, his infant son or his toddler son picks up a lightsaber, ignites it, and it kills him. Talking about an irresponsible person. So and then his wife commits suicide because, his wife is so devastated that she kills herself. But he's hearkening to modern politics, isn't he? In a fantasy where, like this woman, Mara Jade, for example, and even Luke are far more responsible than what he's alluding to for why Jake Skywalker or Jake Soywalker goes into hiding and gives up on the Jedi and the universe and stuff like that, is because of that. That's what's in his head. Now let's go ahead and finish listening to what he has to say.
Find unattended guns and so forth and wind up dead. And I thought that resonated with me so deeply that that could possibly, but he didn't have the time to tell a backstory like that. I'm guessing he just wanted a brief thing to explain it. And to me, it didn't justify it. That said, and I told him this, despite the fact that I disagree with your choices for Luke, I'm going to do everything within my power to make your screenplay work as best that I can. And the only thing unfortunate about that is I've heard comments from fans who think that I somehow dislike Rian Johnson, and nothing could be further from the truth. And by the way, that story about my made-up backstory, I've never told that before. That's an exclusive for you, Jesse.
All right, so there we go. That, go ahead and get out of this. That is the latest from Mark Hamill. He praises RJ, but he still doesn't like, obviously, the direction Ryan took Luke. And so now he is doing mental gymnastics with why he went into exile, or basically went and gave up on his responsibilities, and so I thought I'd share with you. And then he goes and pushes modern day politic narratives into his conclusion to all of this, which is fucking funny because when this guy does not know Star Wars. Star Wars is about the right to carry arms. Basically, everybody and even children learn how to use a blaster. Jedi in training, very young, as we even seen in the PT, learn how to use a lightsaber, right? And these lightsabers, they're like, as a training lightsabers, they are very, very different than the actual lightsaber. You have to graduate from that before you build your own, where it's much more dangerous because of the plasma. The other ones have safety mechanisms, and I'll just leave it at that. So this is what he is putting together in his mind, adding modern day in politics. And so it clearly shares his stance, and also shares that, he doesn't understand Star Wars. He would not like it if he doesn't like the right to bear arms in our own society, in our life, right? In America, he ain't gonna like Star Wars, because even like kids or Anakin's grandkids were using weapons at a very young age, right? And so this doesn't make sense. So he's like, oh, well, if the kid is exposed to these weapons, they're going to end up killing themselves. So that is what the latest is. And so I thought I'd share it with you guys. Thank you, Soul Assassin, for sharing that with me. First thing in the morning, I woke up and that tweet was sent to me. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? Okay. So I went and found the podcast. I recorded. I've been editing since up before we started so I can share with you guys. Oh my God, get down from there. All right, sorry. Just more cat drama. This is like a full, like, real life, like, cat chat here going on. Well, it is still, but man, these cats are just characters this morning. Holy heck. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Let's see here. Star Wars is a conservative franchise. I think it has its all angles because they have to share all type of dynamic themes to get from point A to point B, from, how the Republic fell, how the Empire became, and how, Anakin was redeemed, and everything in between, even with Luke Skywalker and beyond, even before, like before. So there's so much dynamics going on within it. Hamill might as well have said his backstory was that Luke went into hiding to show solidarity with a Union strike. And let's see here. Where do you draw the line? I mean, can Boba Fett own a tank? No, but he can fly the slave one. Haha. Right? And then I used to be the best ambassador for Star Wars, or he used to be the best ambassador for Star Wars. He was great with fans. Then he got tedious real bad. Yeah, he really alienated all different factions of his fans, which is very sad. I can clearly, disassociate like the character from the actor. Still love Luke Skywalker. Do I like do I care for, like, or agree with Mark Hamill on a lot of things? No, I don't. And that's fine. That's okay. I can still enjoy Star Wars and Luke Skywalker for what he and who he is, because in the end, the character's not Mark, and Mark's not the character. He just brought him to life according to George Lucas, right? Training sabers are set to low settings that leave small bruises and burns. Mandalorians start training at 5 to be warriors. Correct. And I think Mandalorians, they don't have weapons that are, kid friendly, I guess you can say, like lightsabers. So think about that. And we have 51 beautiful souls listening, watching. Thank you guys so much. If you're watching on the Twitter, and you can come over here on the YouTube and join in the conversation. I'd love to hear what you have to say. All right. So the question wasn't whether or not to hate Ryan. It was Luke true to the character George wrote and created. I say no. Correct, Matthew. Right on. He is backtracking in a sense, but I find it funny. It's like maybe he's trying to get a job with Ryan, because he's clearly said that he's not gonna come back to Lucasfilm and Star Wars to reprise his character, right? He already sold his image to AI type situation for Lucasfilm, so that doesn't matter to him anymore, right? He doesn't have to do anything. So there's that. There is that. So with that being said, since we're talking about George, like what George wrote and created, and I did talk about that BFI's viewing or screening of the archive, that donated archived Star Wars film, and how now people are praising Kennedy and bashing George Lucas. There's that strong George Lucas narrative floating around now, that George is a liar. George lied to everybody about there even being nothing left for him of the original film. And so, and also saying that fans can't have or view the original anymore, which in fact we did debunk some of that basic narrative on Pure's channel, his latest one, me, him, and Tim, regarding that. But the thing is, I find it funny that when people want something so bad, they're still thinking they're fighting against what Disney is doing to Star Wars, and they have fought in the past about what Disney did to George, betraying him, all of this, and talked about what George had to say about the company, even though he's a shareholder. He's a shareholder. We all knew that from the start, right? But George has spoken many times out against the direction of Star Wars under Disney, even called them white slavers in the beginning, so we all know this. So they use that to defend George against what's going on. But the minute they feel they got something good, and that goes with even the production of what Disney Star Wars puts out, like the minute a show comes out so that they feel is good, they forget their stance. So with this, these people haven't even gone to UK to watch to see exactly the version of the film that was aired, right? But they quickly went to that same narrative. Give me this, and I will forgive you. And fuck George, because he never gave it to us. Praise Kennedy. Oh, well, this is her chance to make right with it, and we feel good about her now. And they did that. They did it without even knowing when they praised Gilroy, right? Because Gilroy was like, oh yeah, thanks to Kennedy. Kennedy's on my side. So they're praising Gilroy for this success. Well, you have to really include Kennedy, right? Because she was on his side, and everything that he wanted, she made sure he produced, right? And so we have this back and forth narrative. Yes, right. Me. They don't give a shit about the property. They just want what they want. And they will bash and say what they need to do to make it necessary, right? At one end, when the narrative is right, they will defend George. And then at one end, when it benefits them or what have you or whatever, they will tear him down or tear down Star Wars or even tear down a faction of it, like the EU or whatever, for example. So there's that. There's no true consistent morality behind it and stance. And so that is what I call fence riding, right? It's like you have both feet dangling on both sides, and you lean one way when it feels good to you, and you're like, oh, it feels great on this side, okay. And then you lean the other way, the Disney side, when you feel, oh, finally they're giving me something without, and then forgetting all the shit they have done to the established characters. We just got done talking about Luke Skywalker, right? They're forgetting what they have done to the established characters made by George Lucas. The movie is basically the movie characters, the legacy characters. They're the first characters put into Star Wars, right? And then, our characters started being added more and more throughout the movies. Like every movie, we had something new going on there. And then when we get into the expanded universe, we get more of the expanded lore that, basically the movies are the foundation, and you got the expanded universe. And we get more details of the events that happened and events that were to come, characters, and even like Wedge Antilles. We get more of his story, which makes him legendary. People already loved him from the movies, right? But then we get more of his expanded story in the EU. And he becomes one of the phenomenal, loved, well-loved characters. And then, of course, you get the EU characters that are legacy, basically, like Kyle Katarn. He was one of the first loved characters ever being brought out in the EU. There's other characters too, but I'm just throwing him out because, you know, that's one that basically people will readily talk about and know about. And I'm about protecting all of that, you know. And Disney, if they bring out this OT, like original film OT to the theaters or whatever, does that change my mind about the direction Disney has taken the franchise? Fuck no. All they are going to do, if they do that, just like the movies that they re-release, like the Revenge of the Sith, all they're doing is just earning money from you to continue to destroy the property. Think about it. They're taking your love of George Lucas era of Star Wars, right? Like the movies, your love that you've been defending this whole fucking time. They're taking that, dangling in front of you. You are falling for that shit, and you are giving them money to help them produce future products that continue to destroy the franchise. Yep. Think about it. Speak with your money. You probably have a copy. Like if you don't have a copy of the original theatrical, you can still get it. There are many ways. George did allow for it to be purchased by others leading up into 2006. We already covered that on Purist's channel. And then you have fan edited ones. You have it out there. If he really didn't want it out there, I'm pretty sure, you know, once the fans made that edit, it could have been taken down. Could have been taken down. They have that right to take that shit down, right? And so what are your morals? What do you stand for? Are you here to fight? Are you here to call out? Are you here to protect the legacy of George Lucas and the franchise he and others created with him? Did you from the start fight against what was being done to his lore, to his characters, to the franchise? Then don't give them money. Don't go to the theaters when they bring out George Lucas movies. Watch them at home. Support George in other ways. I wouldn't say support George. Support real Star Wars in other ways. That's why I'm like, if you absolutely can avoid purchasing EU novels without the legends, do it. Do it. So this is what the state of Star Wars within the greater community is right now. We have people now softening to, oh, well, I did fight for the franchise, but you know what? I'm done, basically. Just give me what I want. They're thinking about themselves now. And sure, fine. Have at it. But you can't really say now that you're a defender or you're going to fight for the cause. If there's another something that happens and I see these people that I have been pointing out and stuff like that, and we have been pointing out in Gatekeepers Alliance, if there comes another stance, something happens where we're like, oh shit, you know, they have destroyed this part of the lore in the movies or whatever. And there's always something, right? Like Mon Mothma, for example, in Andor. There's always something. But if there's something greater that happens or something happens like coming up and they start fighting against it because they don't like, call that shit out. Call that shit out. It's like, find your stance, fence rider, right? Either step to the left or the right or get the hell out of here. That's how I feel. So I know it sounds fucking controversial and I don't give a fuck. I'm here about the George Lucas era Star Wars. And I was like, oh, called a George Lucas purist, you know? And then I was all like, oh, well, you're just sucking George's cock. You're a George Lucas apologist. No, there are things I don't agree with George did. Like, you know, I tolerate the special editions. I don't mind them. I love the original. I was born around that time, so I got to see, you know, the theatrical, the original release to the theaters. I did. We did have the VHS. We don't no longer have it. I'm sad. I wish I would have grabbed it and collected it and stuff. I don't know what happened to it, but we did have the VHS when I was growing up. But the thing is, I'm about original Star Wars. Whether I agree with points that from George or not, whether I agree with some direction he's taken within the time he owned his business or not, I'm about protecting all that. Even when I disagree, you can disagree with person, but still be on their side. Still want to protect that legacy, right? You don't have to bash him because you disagreed on a situation. You can say, yeah, I disagreed with that, but you know what? My resolve is about the greater Star Wars, the franchise, keeping it in front of people, preserving it, calling out all the bullshit that's been going on the Disney side and the destruction that they're doing, right? And that's the stance that I recognize. I am not no fence rider. I'm not going to go dip my foot on one side and say, oh, yeah, the water's fine because, you know, they peed there and it's nice and warm. It's not cold yet and I like it. I'm using the analogy purist. You can go ahead and take that too. And then once it gets cold, then you get pissed off because, you know, it's no longer warm to you. And then you're like, and then you're cussing at them and stuff. That's just another analogy of a fence rider. Likes it when it's lukewarm and it feels comfortable, but when it cools down and you're not just agreeing anymore, then you're going to take another stance. It's like, find the stance, step on the side where you want to hold that stance. Stop being a Disney apologist. Just like I was called George Lucas apologist. Well, stop being a Disney apologist, right? All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the new Jedi Order lore. We have some great things to discuss. But let's see here. I got to see what you guys are saying since I started my little soapbox rant, I guess you could say. I don't know. Silver Orc says, bet he's angling to voice CGI version of himself in more Disney slop. Who knows? Who knows? He said he was done. But who knows? Because Rian Johnson is not involved in Star Wars Lucasfilm anymore, Disney Lucasfilm. We know that already. He's wishing he could have another trilogy, which means he doesn't. So Rey movie, if ever happens, going to be the biggest fiasco of the entire franchise. And we do have people apologizing for that as well, if you want to go ahead and use that narrative. The Ghostbusters sequels and remakes are garbage. And George Lucas haters equal shills in real. Yeah. Aftermath equals Elon set off. All right, Nerd Cookies blocked me. I'm done with her now. I'm doing research on JJ Plays Room. I've seen that shit going down too. I seen, you know, that I got off. I subbed a yoga class last night. So when I got off of it, I seen the talk about JJ plagiarism. Fucking crazy. Frozen Empire, the Sir. All right, I'm gonna go and get through these real quick. And if you guys have your source book of the new Jedi Order, grab it. I'll tell you what page you're on if you want to follow along. But I'm gonna get through the rest of these comments, and then I'm gonna play a little the new Jedi Order Vector Prime commercial again, so we can get all situated for this talk. All right, so let's see here. It's all me. They're all selfish. It's always about what they want. Yeah. I mean, they're the consumers, right? So like they're going to purchase Disney because that's what they want. Honestly, they want Disney Star Wars. They're fighting to preserve Disney Star Wars because they want good Star Wars under Disney or their narratives. I want good Star Wars, but has Star Wars is good under Disney? Come on now. I have Laserdisc rip of it. There you go. We want George's version, our vision, finally to be finished. let's see here. Not kids these days either don't respect or even know the EU. They'll eat that race slop up in between shipping on Reddit and copying TikTok dances. That's the state of the world today. Let's see here. All right, I know you guys are still talking about this. We are going to get into New Jedi Order. So I'm going to play the commercial here, but let me get this right here. Just like the Revolutionary War, many stood on the sidelines. Just shut up and let's fight the war, fence riders. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the lore talk. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and play this.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
All right, so new Jedi Order. So if you have the source book, it's page 142. So feel free if you want to follow along, because I am using this as a source to discuss and read to you guys and stuff, just to give more context. And again, if you have not read Star by Star or New Jedi Order, it's fine. You are going to get some spoilers, but that's just how it goes here, because we are discussing the lore and that's what you guys are here for, right? So why do the disclaimer when you guys know that I'm going to talk about it? We're not doing the book review, so reading versus just talking about it can be completely different, because you get more of the experience. So I highly recommend, if you haven't started the New Jedi Order, pick it up. Yeah, do you need to read other things? Not necessarily. I mean, I don't usually recommend New Jedi Order as a starting point to your way into the EU. However, even if you haven't read or privy to a lot of the lore before New Jedi Order, that's okay. Scran is picking up, and is reading it, and he's been enjoying it. I've been enjoying, seeing his view and all this other stuff as he goes along with it. 19 books, stupid ass wave, right? So there you go. So, there's the Arcana thing going on. I'm not going to get into that. I thought about including that, but I'm not. Let me go ahead and pull up the slide, though. I did make the slide. Everything was done ahead of time, and I'm proud of myself. So I really didn't have to worry about a lot of things. Let me do the full screen. There you go. So again, this is one that basically hasn't changed here. I just like this setup for the beginning of the slide here. So all right. And again, we're still in the Star by Star timeline. So this right here, you guys already know, most of you guys know that these are just the planets that are overtaken. Once we get past Star by Star and we're done with using the source book, this is where I'm going to have to sit down and do a lot more research, or at least write down notes, take, and do little bullet points of notes and stuff like that for you guys. So that's going to be fun. I love doing research. You guys know that. I like to put shit together, have fun with it, and share. And as always, if there's stuff that I forget or have not talked about, you can share it in the chat and create a conversation from that. This is what this is about, right? So again, all the black dots with the yellow are basically planets that the Vong conquered, overtaken, overrun, whether they destroyed it or are using it for their own means. Moving towards Coruscant. We are almost there. The fall of the capital, right? But in the meantime, the Jedi want to find a way to get rid of the Voxen, right? The Voxen, the Jedi killers that killed Alima Ra's sister. And I think they have since then killed a couple other people, or a couple other Jedi have ran into them. And the Voxen basically have a poison that they spit out, and just like who they're bred from or cloned from, the Vormskers, they detect force sensitive, strong force sensitives, right? So this is where we get into the fact that not everybody's force sensitive, because if, like Disney Star Wars is trying to allude, right? Because if everybody's force sensitive, then like Talon Card wouldn't be able to have his Vormskers as his pet, because then they would want to eat him. And we obviously know that, with the exception of Mara Jade, the majority of his crew are not force sensitive. Once, but on the other hand, too, Talon Card also was carrying with him Isla Mary, so, but to wrap up what I'm saying, not everybody's force sensitive. And this is an example of, that, or the Vormskers would be after all of them on the talent within Talon Card's group and stuff like that. So very, very interesting, with that. So people start saying, well, everybody's force sensitive, blah, blah, blah. Now you can use that as an example too. It is so cool that Salvatore wrote for both Star Wars and D&D. He did. And I think Star Wars Marvel Pierce is doing the bracket against who's the best author within the EU, like the main novels, I guess you can say, and some of the young readers. And so I think you can go to his post here on YouTube and vote. I think it's still up. So if you want to share that link, Purist or Soul Assassin, you can do that while you're listening as well, if you know about a lot of the artists or the authors and stuff. So go check that out. You can even do your research and go back and put your vote in accordingly. Yes. Let's see here. People hoping for Filoni to take over. Seriously pathetic. Disney Star Wars is Filoniverse. That, yeah, he's the chief creative, right? Smash the like. So they're trying to figure out, like, okay, so we have this new threat. They're still trying to figure out their position within this whole situation going on with the New Republic and the Yuuzhan Vong, this war, this invasion and stuff like that. There's a lot going on. Like, we covered a lot. We already know the stance of the council, the Senate, and we already know the stance of some of the Jedi. Luke is still trying to piece these things together to see where they belong and what they should do. There's a lot of going on. And of course, I understand in a way Luke's thought process, but then I also disagree with him, and Kip is right to take action. So there you go. But with that being said, let's get into this. All right. So let me go ahead and get into this. So we have a picture of Anakin Solo. We have the Myrkyr, the world ships for Myrkyr here. And so they do occupy Myrkyr in a sense. And that's where their cloning facilities are these, breeding cloning facilities are for the Voxen. And here's Myrkyr right here up on the right side corner of the screen here. Myrkyr is a forested, lush planet that harbor the Isla Mary and the Vormskers. We already knew about this. Timothy Zahn expanded on this, all of this, like he created this in the Thrawn trilogy. And here we have it here again, linking the historical timeline, linking, places and stuff that were put into the universe, because now it exists. And so you can create stories from it and events from it and stuff like that. So we have this right here that, with in the lore, the Voxen. And what can they do about it, right? So Anakin comes up with this plan, this vision, this plan. He knew it had to be him. Luke was going to go do it himself. And Anakin's like, nope, I need to do it. So I'm just talking vaguely and in short. You have to read it because there's a big debate behind it, all of that, even with Han Solo and stuff like that. Very, very great conversation scene. Again, we're not reviewing the book. We're just talking about the events, right? And so in a way, it's not a huge spoiler. Like the events and how you read it is the context of it and the emotions of it and what gets you involved with it. All right. Because of the ruthless ferocity of the Voxen, Jedi continue to die across the galaxy. Anakin Solo, the typical impulsive fashion, decides that the best way to end the attacks on the Jedi Knights is to find the original Voxen, the original Voxen, the template for the others, and destroy it. According to Seagull's research, once the Voxen Queen is eliminated, no further clones can be made. So again, this is all from Anakin Solo. And he's addressing that with his uncle and then the count, everybody in the room and stuff like that. Again, I'm not going to get too much into details. Talking about Kip Durant, I'm going to get this one right here. Talking about Kip, the Jedi Shadow bombs were a great idea from him. Made me imagine a Battlefront 3 and 4 happening during the Yuuzhan Vong War. Right on. Yeah, that's something like you can take and say, oh crap, that could have been good for certain games and stuff like that. I see what you're getting with, but not under Disney, right? Great concept by Denning. All right, Denning. And yes, like I said, when you have the time, check it out. I already did my vote. I was going to try to wait for last minute because I don't want to influence people, but you know, I figured I'm probably forget before it closes. So I did it once I seen it was posted. All right, so let's move on. Let's get on with this. Anakin's plan is direct, but risky. Someone will pose as an ordinary citizen, one sympathetic to the Yuuzhan Vong, and deliver a small team of Jedi to the Yuuzhan Vong near Obroa Sky. The Jedi must then capture a Yuuzhan Vong vessel and use it to infiltrate enemy territory where they will locate and destroy the Voxen Queen. That's the plan. And those who have read Star by Star, oh God, I'm just thinking about it right now in my head because, you know, I'm like going on my reread. I haven't got to the scene yet. I'm moving very slow in this next book because of life events. But the scene from reading in the past and knowing what happens, holy shit. And we'll get more into this later. Crazy shit. Crazy. Well-written Troy Denning novel. Well written. Very clever indeed. Voxen first. Fifth. The plan initially meets with strenuous objections. Han Solo believes it could be a suicide mission, while Jason Solo argues that if it succeeds, the refugee ship will pay the price. Master Skywalker eventually decides that to put the idea to a vote. The deciding vote belongs to Han Solo, who has to admit that as much as he hates sending his own children, they're the best qualified to complete the mission and return alive. The plan is approved. And I'm not going to get into the whole debate, what is said, all that. You got to read it. You have to read it. You have to read what Han says. You have to read about Leia, all of that. The context there, the emotions there, like great writing from Troy Denning. Let's see here. I'm still on the edge of victory too. God sidetracked and reread Dark Lord, Rise of the Dark Vader now and 4 chapters into Shadows of the Empire. Yeah, you're really just pushing through these books and stuff. And yeah, I sometimes like if I'm like I want to pause on a book I'm reading and it's Star Wars or what have you, I might listen to an audible of something else from Star Wars or either another like I might go into Lord of the Rings or to some of my other favorite artists, authors and stuff like that. So yeah, I understand skipping between books and stuff like that. I understand that. I do that too. Yeah, under Disney, that never going to happen. Unfortunately, they should made that before during the prequels re-release time. Yes. Oh, I forget about the fucking brutal. That fucking brutal. Yeah. Yes. Man, he has the roughest arc in the series. Han, yeah, he does. He does. He's like, he goes through a lot of shit from the beginning. And then to see his wife having to go into quarantine with her head shaved and all this other stuff and all this shit, and then Jaina being blinded during an attack, an explosion. You know, it's a temporary blindness. She's not blind anymore now by this time, but still, he goes through a lot. And, Luke does too, but no, we follow a lot more. Like Luke, he's like this he's on the sideline being the deciding factor where they need to go. But Han and Leia, they really are in the trenches, right? Later on, Luke and them are, but more so it was like Han and Leia and the kids. And rightfully so. This series starts setting up the kids more for what's to come later, right? So let's see where I'm at. Okay, Leia insists that Lando Calrissian take the role of the concerned citizen. He will pose as a miner from Arcania, desperately trying to appease the Yuuzhan Vong and save his holdings. All the way to Aurora Sky, Lando rehearses the plan obsessively. During the handover, the 17 Jedi prisoners, Anakin, Jason, Jaina, and I wanted to get into who was all involved. So these are who's involved in the strike team. Anakin, Jason, Jaina, Tenno Call, Lobaka, Zek, Raynar Thul, Tahiri Valia, Gana Rysod, Limor Rar, Ulaha Kor, sorry, Earl Bessa, Jovan Durak, Krasov, and Bella Hara, and Tessar Sabatine. Yeah, and a lot of these were, like I said, channel members. We are in the book club. If you're participating in the book club, we are talking or not talking. Yeah, we're discussing and listening to Young Jedi Knights. So a lot of these names are probably familiar to you guys from there. Not a lot, but most. And so they're being set up too for what's to come. Interesting how these characters are being evolved, right? Something good, it's like you have something to look forward to. And if you start with like Scran, and Scran's listening to the Young Jedi Knights with us, but if you're starting from New Jedi Order, like Scran basically is like Scran is still getting his feet wet in the expanded universe. You're like, oh crap, these kids are in the Young Jedi Knights. Oh, I'm gonna start linking these events together. Like it's a historical timeline, So it's this is why I love Star Wars. This is why I defend the real Star Wars. The death of Lucas Arts. I love all those old games. Disney Star Wars games are nothing more than milking a property. That Indiana Jones games, Great Circle, terrible. Lando is a really good actor. You have to read this and get into all of the scenes and stuff like that. It's very well done. All right, so let's go ahead and okay, there we go. I just read all the strike team. And then Tekkel. I forgot to talk about Tekkel. Will break into a weapon locker and attempt to escape, but ultimately fail. During the confusion, a pair of UVH war droids will steal out of Lando's ship and attach themselves to the hull of the Yuuzhan Vong vessel. Later, once the Yuuzhan Vong have taken their Jedi captives into the Yuuzhan Vong space, the Jedi can mount the real assault. So Yuuzhan Vong space. Let's go ahead and go back to this right here. This all is Yuuzhan Vong space now. This is where they conquered. This is where they went. So you have like a lot of Yuuzhan Vong space because they have already been taking over the galaxy. This is real shit. Like for Star Wars, this is real shit going on, right? The invasion, taking over, even space. That's why like Luke was like telling Han and Leia, find me a river, like a way to travel throughout the galaxy without getting the attention of the Vong. And a way to transport Jedis and stuff like that without being discovered. There's a lot of that. It's all tying in. With the help of the war droids, they will be able to take control of the Yuuzhan Vong warship. Okay. When the handover occurs, the Yuuzhan Vong react almost sluggishly. The fake battle takes much longer than expected, and the young Bith Jedi Yulaha is seriously injured, and her lung is punctured by a kufi. Lando is faced with a difficult decision, calling off the mission to help Yulaha or letting it go ahead as planned, in which case the young Jedi will likely not survive. Decisions have to be made. That's what conflict and war is about. Sometimes you have to lose someone to stay in the objective, the plans, right? And this is the hard reality of it all. It's fucking crazy. This is like, when you get into this, it's like you will feel a little frustrated. You will feel a little compassion. You will feel, I mean, there's a lot of things going on here, because even at the worst novel in the series, it's a well-written series. It's a well-written series. Ultimately, Calrissian decides to let Anakin and the other Jedi worry about Yulaha and leaves him to the Yuuzhan Vong. Jason Solo is outraged by Lando's decision, since he has already been disarmed and taken captive. However, he can do nothing about it. He knows that appealing to Anakin will not help. His brother has already threatened to leave Jason behind if he cannot accept the exigencies of sabotage. So there we go. So we have these conflicts going on in here, because, you know, when you plan things, sometimes they're not going to go always as planned, and you have to make the decisions. Again, this is conflict. This is war. You know, what do you do? You know, and with Anakin and even Lando, you know, retreat is not an option. They must stay focused on the mission no matter which direction it goes. They have to kill the Voxen Queen in order to save the Jedi. This is called sacrifice, and that's what Jedi do. And I think Jason Solo forgets that, in a sense, that a Jedi on a mission to protect the greater good will give their life. And because Jason is still in his head about what he is as a Jedi and what a Jedi are really, he's forgetting that aspect. And that's one thing that kind of frustrated me about him when reading through this, in a sense. Yeah. And I think it's all well done here. It's like, even though I don't agree with like Jason's thoughts and stuff like that, you know, we see him go back and forth, this push and pull, where later on when you get into Legacy and all this other stuff, you understand, like, oh yeah, he was going dark, or these are opportunities set up for dark, to go dark, because of his questioning of things and because of his opposition and all of this. It's really well done, in a sense, I guess you could say. Now, you know, you have Tenno Call, you have Lobaka, you have Zek, you have Yulaha, you have Rain Arthul, you have Bella Hara, you have Korsav Hara, you have Tessar Sabatine, and you have Tekli, along with Anakin leading, and his brother and his sister Jaina and Jason, or Jaina and Jason. These are all this, and then Lando Calrissian as well. These are all that's on the strike team. These are from basically, most of them, the first generation of the young Jedi Knights, because some of these came into the order to training a little later, like Anakin and Trekul and Tessar Sabatine. You know, a lot of them came in a little bit later than what we see in the young Jedi Knights. But these are the up and coming generations of Jedi, right? And they are already on a mission to help their fellow Jedi and the galaxy. And they're willing to sacrifice their lives as well. And as much as it hurts the Solos and the Skywalker family, and even all those involved with these young Jedi Knights, these young Jedis, it has to be done. And we know what happens. Most of us knows what happens. We're not there yet, so I'm not going to fully discuss this. And like I said, here is the Myrkyr. The world ships here where they're stationed there on Myrkyr, or above Myrkyr, I believe. I think the cloning facility is above Myrkyr, or the moon of Myrkyr, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see here. Yeah, Matthew. It is done in the bad. Okay, yeah. There you go. All right. Let me take a drink here. It's like I can't help think about what's going to happen and what's happening once they get into the facility and stuff. But I don't want to talk about it, like get too much into it, because we're leading to it. So I don't want to get into details of that. We were talking to just about the strike team and Myrkyr. Yeah, so. And there's one thing, and I don't know, maybe I will talk about it next week, but there's the Yuuzhan Vong physical torture. I want to get in further discussion with that, because we're going to see a lot more of that later when it comes to Jason Solo. So that will be next week when we get more into details of what's going on. And for some of you who've read, you know what I'm talking about. Those of you who read Legacy of the Force, you know what I'm talking about. Those who haven't are like, what is the Yuuzhan Vong psychological torture? Well, we'll talk about that next Thursday, so stay tuned. Dun, dun, dun. All right. So Myrkyr. The planet Myrkyr is the target of Anakin Solo's strike force, a world of dense jungles. It had once served as the base of operations for the smuggler Talon Card. Now, we already talked about this. Again, linking historical timeline together. Well done. It was here that Card captured and domesticated 2 of the native Vornskurs, vicious predators that can sense Force users. The Vornskurs' animosity towards the Jedi made them the perfect choice to crossbreed with the Yuuzhan Vong predator to create the Voxen. The Voxen that Anakin had captured earlier could only survive for a few months without the nutrients it needs that are only on Myrkyr. So yes, he did capture. That's in the lore. That's in the timeline there. We're not going to get into that again, but that's just something to look forward to if you're reading. Thus, it stood no reason that the original Voxen, the Voxen Queen, suffers from the same limitations. So the Yuuzhan Vong would want to keep the monster somewhere in the Myrkyr system with their captured Yuuzhan Vong frigate. Anakin's strike team heads to the Myrkyr for Myrkyr and discovers the system star has a new satellite in orbit, the Yuuzhan Vong world ship. There you go. The Yuuzhan Vong world ship. So that's where they're hosted right now. That's where the facility is for the Voxen Queen to clone these Voxens. All right. So the world ship. The world ship Banu Bras, and we'll end with this so we can get into Cringe Factor. The Voxen, the Yuuzhan Vong, had lived aboard their world ships for generations before discovering the galaxy of the machine-using infidels. The outer surfaces of the world ships include habitats and factories. Exterior portals range in size from the tiny to colossal to allow access to life support, food production, waste management, and docking facilities on the world ship's interior. Banu Ross, the ship in orbit around Myrkyr's primary star, is the largest of the Yuuzhan Vong world ship. It is dilapidated and largely deserted. Its resources exhausted and its facilities in decay. So we did discuss this a little bit, and I had, and then it's also in discussion in the novels before this about how they need to build a new world ship, and they were doing it at some Serpendal, you believe, and that's where Kip Duran discovered it, but tricked Jaina and Wedge and Rogue Squadron to go attack, saying it was skippers and stuff like that. So basically, he had them kill without knowing the growing world ship to replace this one, which Jaina and Wedge felt betrayed because they felt, oh, you made us come and kill helpless beings and stuff like that. Which in fact, these world ship house and transport the Vong's greater community who are taking over the galaxy. So I get what Kip was doing there. So very interesting with that. So they killed the growing world ship to replace Banu Ross. So very interesting with that. So a little history there. Let's see here. And so I just wanted to get into that a little bit here. Do I want to read any more? Yes, I do. Okay. And it also has the it has bioorganic factories and complexes. The Yuuzhan Vong considered living on a world ship that the worst conditions of a condition a civilized being should have to suffer. Being reminded to working on a world ship for the Yuuzhan Vong is the highest form of punishment. Execution at least moves a Yuuzhan Vong closer to the gods. So yeah, that's not like they had to live, like a lot of generations lived on these world ships going towards the Star Wars galaxy, right? And they want to find a world to make their own. And guess what world that is? Do you know what world that is? I know. I wish we would have had a part 2 to this. On the particular world ship, the Yuuzhan Vong have created a massive research facility, a cloning laboratory larger than most cities. From here, they worked to create the Wormskir's hybrid that became the first Voxen and cloned it to create the others. Throughout the world ship, they also trained the Voxen, teaching them to hunt Jedi in a vast maze filled with the insidious traps and hazards. Even from space, Anakin's Solo Strike Force can sense the fear of and pain of Jedi hunted in the labyrinth. Rather than carrying out its original plan of bombarding the facility from orbit, Anakin's team drops to the surface in cargo pods. The last UVH droid is left to pilot the captured Yuuzhan Vong ship and surprise the boarding party that comes to recapture it. Initially, the ground assault is a success. The strike force suffers no further losses and manages to rescue the 2 force users they sensed from orbit. Though they turn out to be not Jedi, but Dathomiri Night Sisters. Night Sisters were captured there, and a dark Jedi from the defunct Shadow Academy. Zek immediately dislikes them and their methods, but he accepts Anakin's decisions to let the 2 Jedi join the strike team. The Night Sister, Lomi Plo, offers to help the strike team eliminate the Voxen, since she knows the Jedi did not come here to rescue her and her dark Jedi companion, Welk. Again, this goes into Dark Mesh Trilogy. Before they can make good on the escape, a company of Yuuzhan Vong warriors commanded by Nomenor blocks the way. Though the Jedi do not yet see her, Bergère also lurks nearby. Yep, she's back with the Vong. Unable to return the way they came, the Jedi are trapped until one of the rescued Jedi suggests that they can escape through the labyrinth. So there you go. We will get into Welk, Dark Jedi, and Lomi Plo next week, along with the physical torture or the breaking that Yuzhong Vong does. And we'll carry on with that. So there's that. Again, if you're privy to the Young Jedi Knights and also Darkness Trilogy, you know who these characters are. And this kind of sets up a lot going forward into the next era. All right. So we are done here for this lore talk. So have 62 beautiful souls listening. Thank you so much for listening in, participating in the chat. So with that, if you guys have any questions or want to bring up anything else with what we went through right now, go ahead and share it in the comments here. Let me see here. What are you guys saying? Zonama Sikot. Sinot. Zonama Sikot. Yeah. So we'll get in. We're moving all towards that. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot, like, I can't wait, like, getting past Star by Star. You know, it's heart-wrenching in a sense, but you also have, like, phenomenal characters returning back in, like Pelion and stuff like that. So there's some great moments still to come, even after Star by Star. There's a lot of great event or scenes and great things, tragic scenes too. I wouldn't say tragedy is great, but there's a lot of things that are happening that will still keep you captured and into reading the new Jedi Order after Star by Star. Let's see here. The Dennyverse haters don't seem to comprehend how all this occurred and had been hinted to. Right, it's all there. It is all there throughout that. And like I said before, you can have Jason go either way, I guess you can say, from the light or the dark, but there's a lot more hinted towards the dark side than anything else. Bergère returning back to the Vong. If she was really this good light side Jedi, why would she return back to the Vong and help them out? Think about it. Think about that. Wouldn't she want the Jedi to succeed in in this conflict, this war with the Vong, instead of still siding with them? Think about it. Think about that. Let's see here. I have gotten a hold of some of these so I could read along. I never got to read through all of this. Well, I'm glad you have. Oh my God, it feels great to inspire you guys to build your libraries and read along, participate, or at least do your research. And then if we're talking about a book that you don't have, then it encourages you to purchase that book, right? Get it on your bookshelf. And that's what this is all about. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. Does my heart good. All right. So segue now into Cringe Factor. Are you guys ready for that? We're going to go a little over, and then I'm going to finish getting ready and go and do some art with my friend, hang out with her. I'm working on quite a lot of pieces, but it's all good. The artist in me and the Star Wars nerd in me is going to feel fulfilled today. You know, feels so good to do what you love, and also, you know, share it with those who love what you do too, I guess you could say. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. Let me put myself back here. Yeah, so again, I'm never ready for Cringe Factor. Diddly squat, I know. And this one is a kind of a doozy, because then it gives you questions to why Yoda training Luke and stuff. So you're like, what are you talking about? And I didn't pull the article up, so let me go grab it. I usually have it ready on a tab, and I don't this time, because I was so busy editing that one video about Mark Hamill, I forgot to pull it up. So sorry. All right, so let's see here. I do have it on my messages. I do have another account on Twitter. I'm not giving the name or not giving it what it is, but that's where I usually store some stuff there too for me in my own messaging system there. Let me see. Let me go ahead and remove that. Remove from studio. There we go. All right. So you guys ready for Screen Rants, Cringe Factor? They're always a great contributor to Cringe Factor. I always say, always use them most of the time. There's instances that CBR or other, like even the Hollywood Reporter has contributed to Cringe Factor. So what is this? 2 years ago, Star Wars secretly revealed the prequel Jedi would really think of Luke Skywalker. And I forgot to play this, so let's go ahead and play this because this is something that I agree with when it comes to what Obi-Wan says.
So uncivilized.
All right. So 2 years ago, Star Wars secretly revealed what the prequel Jedi would really think of Luke Skywalker. What do you think that is, ladies and gentlemen? What do you think that is? Let's see here. Blaze bugs are like Yuuzhan Vong memory sticks. Laugh out loud. Green rat is garbage. Yes, Dr. Coffinels, I agree. That is why we use them. And Scran says Vergere is cool, creepy, and legacy. Yeah, she is. All right. All right. Star Wars has finally revealed what the prequel trilogy and Jedi Order would have thought about Luke Skywalker, and it isn't as positive as one might think. Luke Skywalker is undoubtedly the one of the Jedi's most powerful, or Star Wars' most powerful Jedi. All right, so let's see here. And then the fact, although Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Yoda were both examples of Jedi in the original trilogy, for many, Luke came to define what Jedi is in the franchise. Yet, Star Wars movies and TV show, particularly the prequel trilogy, have increasingly revealed just how unconventional a Jedi like Luke was. Of course, we know why, because if you read the Revenge of the Sith novel, Yoda goes through a revelation about how he, and of course, people of his time as he was living, and we knew he lived to be like 800, almost 900 years old, how he and others under him or with him trained the Jedi to fight the Sith of the past. They trained the Jedi in philosophies from 1,000 years ago or so, or within whatever. They never evolved the Jedi. Matthew Stover, brilliant for that, because he's linking the PT with the OT on the evolution of the Jedi and how they needed to change. George Lucas worked with him on that novel. They sat down for an extensive amount of time, over 2 hours, I guess you could say, or for a full day, discussing the novel, dynamics, what should be said and done, as long as he didn't change any story from the PT. Right? Brilliantly done. You could almost consider George Lucas as a ghostwriter in a sense to Revenge of the Sith, if you think about it. Because that novel wouldn't have happened as brilliantly as it did without George Lucas. And yes, like Revenge of the Sith novel, it's an EU and the movie novel. But I consider the movie novels a part of the EU because that's where the novels go, right? And that's what links and bridge the EU to the movies as well. Is George Theory's ghostwriter? Oh, that's hilarious. Whoops, wrong one. G canon, right? All right. And there's a lot of G canon that links the EU to it. Isn't that amazing? It's like, George wanted everything to be cohesive in one timeline. One timeline, cohesive. All right. Screw the prequel era Jedi. Luke's new Jedi Order's better version of the Jedi Masters, Kukuruk and Terra are with me on that. I know. I need to look more. I need to do a historical timeline for those two because they bridge those eras together so well. All right, so let's go. Let's read on. 2 years ago, Star Wars introduced the Boken Jedi. The Boken Jedi. The fascinating concept suggests that Jedi had a negative view of non-traditional training. Do you see where this is going to? This is all Disney lore, by the way. All Disney lore. Ahsoka introduced a host of exciting characters and concepts from the planet of Peridea that has some curious connections to the Mortis gods. Oh, for fuck's sake. To master an apprentice duo, Baylan Skoll and Shin Hati, who quickly became fan favorites. I would debate that, but whatever. Baylan is particularly proved interesting as he was neither a Jedi or a Sith, but did have a clear aspect for the respect for the Jedi. He was a Force user with a fucking lightsaber. That happens all the time. Some Jedis give up being a Jedi, but they still use their lightsaber because they're trained under that weapon. All right. Even as she was more aligned with the dark side of the Force. Among the thing, Baylan Skoll, so she was basically a dark Jedi. Wow. That was a concept, Filoni. You could have just made them dark fucking Jedis and that would be it. Anyways, among the things Baylan Skoll introduced in Ahsoka was a concept of the Boken Jedi. The Boken Jedi. You know what the Boken Jedi is? It is, they use that as in terms as a fake Jedi. Yeah, they are literally Dark Jedi with a new name. Broken Jedi. The Lucas Gerson, that's when I first was reading about the Boken Jedi. That's what popped in my head. Broken Jedi. Yep, Dark Jedi, Jedi, Dark Jedi, or Sith. That's effing it. All Jedi, all Disney Jedi are fake Jedi. They're all Boken Jedi, right? According to their lore. Maybe Filoni didn't like the term Dark Jedi. I think Dark Jedi are in the Clone Wars. I think so. Someone correct me. It's been a long time since I've watched that show. Let me see if there's anything important here. In Ahsoka, Baylan used the term to mean an untrained Jedi or a Jedi not formally trained in the Order. However, 2 years later, Disney Star Wars has revealed the true meaning of the Boken Jedi in the Acolyte visual guide, written by Pablo Hidalgo, one of the people who breaks lore and now has talked against what the EU is and stuff like that, because, you know, he doesn't want to bite the hands that feed him, right? A Boken Jedi is depicted as a type of wooden club and is defined as a traditional training tool useful during repeated drills or learning new forms. So this is his quote. This definition reveals that the implication of the term Boken Jedi is that these Jedi aren't the real thing. They are viewed as inferior. So this is what they're saying. The PT era Jedi would think of Luke Skywalker in terms of the Disney lore. You see where this is going? Another way to change people's perspective on Luke Skywalker to further damage the character. George's character, where one would say, and he said this, that this, like, Luke is him, like he is Luke, or Luke is based off of him in a sense. A term to make Luke look like he's not a real Jedi. He is a fake Jedi. That is what that is about. That is all this is about, is that the Jedi of the PT would see Luke as a fake Jedi. You get where this is going? What this is suggesting? They made up Boken. They pulled it. He says he pulled it from the term. Where's that quote here? It's defined the Boken is depicted as a type of wooden club and defined as a traditional training tool useful during repeated drills and or learning new forms. So then he goes from that. The Boken is a traditional tool to use traditional forms and stuff like that of training. But then he goes on and says the definition reveals that reveals its implication that the term Boken Jedi means that they aren't the real thing, or they are viewed as inferior. So does that make sense to you guys? Does that make sense to you whatsoever? Let me see here. I'm trying to clip on this. You guys are chatting away. I said it before and I'll say it again. Balin and Shin are just their nothing characters. Well, wait till the Ahsoka Part 2 comes in, right? We'll, everybody's going to probably rave about them, I guess, because they recasted Balin's character, Balin's actor. Boken is a Japanese training sword made of wood. Well, I guess Pablo didn't even get that right? I guess he didn't get it right. Man, we're a soul assassin. I hope you're okay. Usually you're in here adding your 2 cents to things. I hope all is well with you. You're probably listening in. Diddly Squat says, so they took traditional Japanese training sword and used it as an insult. Great. And that's Pablo for you. Dave can't write to save his life. Pablo gets nothing right. I know. But that's the thing. So this is what they're saying. The Boken are fake. Boken Jedi are fake Jedi, I guess you could say. And that according to the PT Jedi, Luke would be fake. Ice got soul. Free soul assassin. Smash the like. Here he goes. He's okay. So there you have it, you guys. So what do you think? Because if the PT Jedi thought about that, then why would Obi-Wan and Yoda then train Luke or train him in an unconventional way outside the order? Or how a Jedi trains, no matter what facility it is or if it's inside a facility, they're still a Jedi, right? You're being trained a Jedi, whether you're in a facility or an order or not, you're still a fucking Jedi once you receive training. No Rhino stream tonight. Yep. So there you go. But when you get trained by Jedi Masters in the Jedi way, no matter where the facility is, because mind you, there is no Jedi Order right there. There's no Jedi Order, but they're still Masters. They went into exile so that Jedi can survive. Again, that goes back to Revenge of the Sith. So even though Luke's training was unconventional, he was still trained as a Jedi by Jedi Masters who lived during the PT time. So let me see. I didn't even see who wrote this article. This is by Liz Declan. So Liz has been a person we have read from before for Cringe Factor through Screen Rant. And she doesn't even think about who trained Luke, why he was training, where the order was during the time, to come to this conclusion, to make Luke sound like he's not a real Jedi. So with that being said, and I wish I had the clip. I didn't put the clip up here yet. But that clip, here we go.
Never. I'll never turn to the dark side. You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
So be it, Jedi.
He is a Jedi, and that Palpatine didn't want the Jedi return. Luke is the hope of them returning, of saving the galaxy and reestablishing the order as Yoda wanted. And again, Revenge of the Sith shares that Luke, and including Leia, will reestablish the order, but it will be basically evolved. Hey, Nerd Migos, how are you doing? How are you doing? So with that being said, this is the conclusion to our Cringe Factor and to CAF Chat here today. I'm going to close this out with go watch your favorite OT movies, whether you favored the originals or you don't mind the special editions. Just enjoy what George gave us. If you agreed with him or not, this man is brilliant. A lot of respect to him. A lot of respect to you guys who are listening in and wanting to keep George Lucas era Star Wars alive, who do not agree with the direction Disney Lucasfilm has taken the franchise, including what we read here for Cringe Factor. Do you realize that this is all I fucking set up for people to believe what the stupid author of the Screen Rant article writes? Because this is all a revisionist. This is all a basically like mind thing of like you shifting your narrative or shifting your thoughts about what George set up for these characters, for this lore. Now, now people are going to read this article and say, oh yeah, use it as evidence. Yeah, the PT would see Luke as a fake Jedi without even coming to realization that the masters trained him and knew that he had to bring back the order, that he was trained unconventional, but he was trained by the masters. He was still trained as a Jedi. Doesn't matter the facility at all. Yes, it's a revisionist history. So go enjoy, pick up your favorite book, read it, listen on Audible or a source that has the unabridged version. Share with me and even everybody here in the chat, if you have them as friends on Twitter or any of your social media, bring a bigger discussion about your favorite event, book, characters in the George Lucas era of Star Wars. Share some interesting facts about George Lucas. Even share with things you loved and disagreed about George Lucas, but do it like in a respectful manner. You don't have to act like this stupid fucking crybaby that, oh, George ruined my childhood because he decided to evolve his story. It's fucking pathetic. I get, as an artist, I get that you have this greater vision and you're trying to link the PT to the OT, and so you're trying to do it in a smart way. Tell your story the way you want to tell it. That's what artists do. Is an art piece ever done? No, it's never done. I can sit here and look at like even my Darth Crate Sith Eye and think, you know what? Maybe I should add this, this, and this on here. Maybe it'll, and then I sit there and and I've gone back and added a little bit more to some of my art. I'm like, oh shit, I could have done this thing better. So I go back and redo it. That's what art is about. It's ever evolving. George evolved his story. Film, like when you have this vision of storytelling, it's ever evolving. So with that being said, thank you guys again for tuning in and participating in CAF Chat. And here is from Lando. All right. And remember, Friday night, Gatekeepers Alliance.
Fuck the Fandom Menace.
Fuck the Fandom Menace.
Star Triggered on Mr. Grizzy's channel. Go subscribe if you haven't. Follow us on Twitter. And again, share with me your favorite scenes, characters, novels, or whatever on Twitter. And I will talk to you later. You guys have a great day. And
Are you sure?
I love it when I'm screening through to get to the top and I press a video. But you guys have a great day. May the force be with you. And I shall talk to you guys later. Compare and contrast video is almost done. I am doing a video compare and contrast from the Gilmore massacre of the George Lucas era versus that of Disney's now, since that is something that was used for Andor. So thank you again, and may the force be with you. Have a great day. Talk to you guys later.